So I've got a nice simple drawing, no photo, a horizon line, 2 cliffs, sweep of the water on the beach, so keeping it nice and simple. I'll come on with some water. I'll go through the colours as I'm using them. So I'm just popping some water on the sky to start with. Round number 10 brush loaded with water, I'm coming into a colour called turquoise. So then I'm going to come into the sky. Intense blue is very similar, phthalo pigment is very similar. So if you haven't got a turquoise, don't worry. Just choose a different blue. Just got a nice blue summer sky. All the way down to the cliff. Just make sure you keep dipping in your water when you're loading your brush back up. You can leave a little bit of white if you want to, or you can go full summer sky. We occasionally get those in the UK, not many this year. I'm going to dip into my brush and I've got some purple here. This is a Windsor Violet. I'm just going to pop a little bit of that in. Just blend that through. Just gives a bit of variety in the sky. It's a really nice colour to blend with. Okay, so I'm going to let that settle and then come down to the sand. Onto that I'm popping a little bit of water. I'm just using my round number 10. Load my brush up with water. I'm going to come into some, this is cadmium yellow pale. Sweep that over the whole of that surface. So it's really nice and vibrant. Now if you think about what is the complementary colour to yellow, it's purple. So we're going to dip in with a loaded brush with the yellow into the purple, and what you'll get is like a natural looking brown. If it's a bit too much purple, then take a bit more yellow in. I'm just going to start to create a little bit of shadow. I'm just showing you a different way of creating that shadow without having to pick up a tube of raw sienna. You can do it with other colours. So I'm going to come along the water's edge. Pick out a little bit of shadow, stroke horizontally. If you're worried about the colour, mixing the colour on the paper, then just mix it a little bit in the palette. And then where you're getting those shadows against the water, I just want you to stroke horizontally. That gives a feeling of surface on the beach. Okay, I'm going to dry that one off. So that's nicely dry. I'm going to come in now with a round number 6 and a little bit of water. I'm going to use a little bit of the turquoise. So this is on this cliff that's further away. So to create a sense of distance, if you use a bit of the sky colour, it always works really well. And then I've got some Payne's Grey. I'm just going to dip into that. So these colours are neat. I'm just dipping them in with a little bit of water on my brush. You don't want to go too strong, you don't want to eliminate all the blue. So just run it along that top edge. Just let it work its way down. and dry that one off. Okay, so that one's dry, so we're going to come into this nearer cliff now. I'm going to use a little bit of the yellow. As a base. And then I'm going to come in nice and dark with the Payne's Grey. So following the line of the land. Get that really nice edge. Take it darker in places. You just basically want a little bit of a glow to come through from that yellow, but it not to be too visibly yellow. So you're just eliminating a little bit of that. Okay, I'll dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. I'm going to come in now and do the water. What I've got here is an old tea light, and I'm just going to rub the surface of the paper. I'm using a rough paper, it's Saunders Waterford, so it's going to catch the surface, but I'm using the flat of the tea light. If you use an edge, you tend to get a line rather than just some texture appear. It is a bit random, sometimes it doesn't work, so I'm just hoping. I'm going to pop some water on. But I'm not going to come all the way down to the water's edge because I want to create a little bit of a wave there. You'll see as I come on. So you can see that texture appearing. So that's from that tea light. And this is a turquoise that's coming in with a round number 10. Got a really nice glistening texture there. You can leave a little bit of light around the rocks. It's quite nice as a bit of a splash. And I'm just going to bring an edge in here. Just get this water in nice and quickly. If you dip into a little bit of the purple again, because they reflect the colours that are in the sky within the water, just a few horizontal strokes of the purple. I'm going to drop down to around number 6, load this up with turquoise, and whilst it's still wet enough I want to break into this edge. So I'm just breaking through. I'm getting a jaggedy feel on this edge. And then you can just pop in a little bit of water in places. So if I touch in places, just going to create a little bit of a bloom. Just so that it's all not so defined. You just load your brush up and dab in. Creates a little bit of shadow as well on that water. Okay, I'll dry that off. Okay, so that's nicely dry now. You can see those little sort of splash marks where you've watermarked to get that bloom happening. It works really nicely. It takes a bit of practice. When you want to create one, it's always quite hard. So I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow and a little bit of the purple into that yellow. I'm using my round number 6, and I'm looking for that nice natural looking brown. I'm going to come along this bottom edge. This is going to really define this wave. So I'm coming all the way along. And in fact, as you get closer, you can get a little bit wider. Put the pressure on the brush and make that a little bit wider, and that will just work wonderfully as really good shadow. If I take a flat and pick up some of that as well, what I'm going to do is just horizontally stroke from that shadow on the surface of the beach. And this is going to give a real sense of surface. So this is with my flat brush. Got to remember, it's horizontal stroke. The temptation to go at 45 degrees is very great, but you're better to stay horizontal. It makes it look much more natural. And more of the surface of the beach is appearing. To dab another mix of those, and then if you just create a couple of shadowy bits just on the rest of the beach, and a little bit just where those rocks are, just underneath, just to ground them. In fact, I'm going to take a little bit of that colour in there where the rocks are. Rinse that brush out, so I'm still working with my flat. I'm coming back into the turquoise, and I'm just going to create a few ripples. So this is horizontal strokes again, but I'm slightly curving with the wave. So I'm keeping the brush horizontal, curving with the wave. So you get a really nice effect of that water movement without too much effort. As you're further out, you'll get more horizontal ripples, so you can pop a few of those in with the turquoise as well. It all adds a little bit of definition. You can sharpen up your horizon line. And then with my round number 6, I'm just going to take a little bit of the purple and I want to just dot in places. This is just to help to define the top of the wave and give it a little bit more shadow. Just not everywhere, just in places. You can use a tiny bit of the Payne's grey as well within there if you want. And I'm going to take my round number 10, check it's clean, load it with water, and I'm just going to touch that top edge. So I'm making that purple paint soften in so you get that little bit more definition. If I then wanted to take up a little bit of the Payne's grey, whilst it's all still damp, it will just blend in a little bit. So you see where I'm dotting, and it's just taking it. and just softening that in. So you have a hard edge and a soft edge, and that's what works wonderfully in any painting. Just picking up the contrast. That's really got a really nice contrast now. You can pop a little bit of this Payne's grey just very lightly in places at the bottom just to balance out. So just right on that edge of the white, but not everywhere. Just want a few little bits to help maintain that contrast. Going to run a little bit of that Payne's grey just in the water here, so it reflects the rocks better. Okay, so there we go, it's our finished beach scene. I'll pop a playlist up here and another video for beginners up here.